Isn't it lovely? I ain't looking back, I'm focused on what's in front of me. Everybody dates a number, but I'm still here luckily. I know that God got me, so I'm in good company. Isn't it lovely?
Welcome,
Oh, I'm dancing.
And thank you for joining us. I am Professor Barrett, and this is A Barrett's Thought. And today, our show is sponsored by Chops Trading Cards and Print on Demands. And yes, I finally was able to get their name out correctly. I apologize. This is just how the Barrett does. Now, you want to know where you can get your own trading cards made for you as a indie wrestler, as you need some for your promotion or different types of things? Go to Chops Trading Cards. They are tremendous on so much that they do. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Because you are a friend of the Bears, you can get 15% off your entire purchase.
15%.
15.
Whoa.
You just put in that great code of Bear15, and my friends will take care of you on your entire order.
I'm legit writing that down, actually.
Remember, Chops Trading Card and Print on Demand, your source for great trading cards and print on things. Now, today in the forest, I have a gentleman that is, legitimately, he reached out to me, and I was like, man, I heard some things. I'm like, man, I'm glad he reached out.
I hope it was good things.
You know what? If I hear bad things, I would probably say it out loud too. I just, but
well, I didn't know. You could have just ambushed me there and said, "This guy said this about you." Like, now what?
No, if I was going to do it, I would have did it early and then cut the show because I am going to give you a chance to respond.
Oh no. Or edit it like that Simpsons episode when Homer went on that hard copy show and they just clipped his, dialogue together to make it say something else.
Yeah, there you go. So, introduce yourself to the people, please, sir.
I am the creature feature, John Campbell, Michigan-based independent pro wrestler, also one of the promoters of Imperial Wrestling Entertainment. We run mostly out of northern central Michigan, but we're looking to do shows in a lot of different markets coming next year. So be on the lookout for that. But that's me in a nutshell. Been in the business for about 20 years. I'd say, let's see. Yeah, it'll be 20 years next year. We've been running Imperial Wrestling Entertainment for 11 this year. And it's been an awesome ride.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. So give my fans background on your wrestling history, if you would.
On my wrestling training?
Yes, sir. Let's start with, how did you start getting into the business? When did you become a wrestling fan?
Okay, so I've been a wrestling fan my entire life. One of my first memories is I can remember this vividly, and then some days I can't even remember my own name, but it was Tito Santana versus an enhancement guy. And I just couldn't really fathom what it was I was seeing, but I was super intrigued. And it just so happened that my cousins always had pro wrestling on. So when I'd go over to their house for like play dates and stuff as a little kid, wrestling would be on. And then that got to the point where I started watching wrestling at home, and I just never stopped.
That is pretty cool. And just that you remember Tito Santana.
Tito Santana specifically. It
One
was.
person that I truly believe does not get the recognition or the love
Mm-mm.
what he's accomplished in the business. But I
Yeah.
digress. um,
Yeah. And a nice guy too. Really nice guy.
so with that, um, where did you go from there? Just the love of wrestling. What happened from there?
So I think like any other kid who loves wrestling and has friends who also love wrestling, started doing backyard wrestling. And, we did our fair share of stupid stuff, but, we had a public access TV show. So we would do all these like crazy angles and like stupid stuff. They'd have to put us on at midnight for us to even be aired because, we were swearing and we had like like just the most asinine ridiculous stuff, you know what I mean, that we could think of just because we could, edgy teenagers. But it got to the point where you can't backyard wrestle forever if you're and just I think backyard wrestlers, which hey, backyard wrestling's cool if you're safe about it, but if you're like in your 30s backyard wrestling, I think there's something wrong there, you know um but then again, I think there's something wrong with all wrestlers, but you can't backyard forever. So I started going to local indie shows and kind of meeting people, meeting different wrestlers. And one of the wrestlers was named Electric Eric Freedom. And he so happened to live about, I'd say, an hour away from where I lived at the time. And he just opened up this school, and it was inside of a storage unit. So it was just barely enough, room for the ring. No heat in the winter, no air conditioning in the summer, and I had the time of my life, and I never looked back.
That's man, that sounds awesome. I and I tell you, just impressed as a teenager, you all were able to get TV, even if local access TV.
Yeah, because there was this channel. It was called Mac 3 TV, and it was based out of a town that was about a half hour south of where I lived at the time. The town's called Mount Pleasant. I live there now. Great town. And they had like it was like a local public access. It was on charter cable, and like most of the time it was just community bulletin and stuff like that. But then ever so often you'd catch something, because if you're playing video games, you have it on channel 3, back in my day, back in our
Right?
day. I see the gray in your beard too, my
Oh yeah,
friend.
yeah.
But so like sometimes you'd turn the Super Nintendo off and there would be this guy ranting and raving at a desk with like plants behind him and stuff about UFOs and God knows what. And and then just I don't know what it was, just maybe love for wrestling, love for ridiculousness. You have to remember this was like in the era of Jackass too. So,
Right.
yeah, so it was just kind of like, if they can, why not us? And I've always kind of had that mentality, it's like, well, if they can do it, why can't I? If I figure out a way, if I research, if I go through enough channels, why can't I get to that point? And that's just kind of how that evolved and developed.
Man, again, that is just so awesome to hear. As a teenager, myself, when I was a teenager, I was a big wrestling fan, but I never thought about trying to get on TV. And plus I didn't have that many friends that were wrestling fans, so it never occurred to me that I possibly could do something like that. So I think that is tremendous, and that shows your level of being meant to do something in not just wrestling business, but in business itself. That's just a big acumen, and it speaks
Sure.
a lot for you.
And fun fact, the TV studio that I was talking about, it's less than a mile away from my house, and I still rent their camera equipment to film our events, and they
Oh wow.
still show our events on their local access TV, you know, in exchange for letting us use the equipment. I guess I'm giving trade secrets here because now all indies are going to do this. But yeah, like, you know, you have to find a way, you know. That's always kind of been my thing. You find a way to make it happen. If you don't have thousands of dollars for like professional TV equipment, figure out a way.
Love it. I love it. So after you got your training, how long did you train?
Ooh, okay, so I started, because that's a good question, because it's kind of like, you know, after I started wrestling, I didn't stop going to training. And then it got to the point where like I was, you know, leading the class sometimes because, you know, Eric was hurt or, you know, couldn't make it that day or something like that. So, I mean, gosh, if you count from like the time I first stepped into that storage area to the time that I stepped out of it and never went back to it, about 6 years.
Oh wow. All right.
Yeah,
And see that because everybody's journey is so different. And I've talked to people who only trained for maybe 6 months, but they once they got out there, they learned they could learn more and got different people helping them. So, like I
sure.
said, everybody's journey is different. So,
Oh
uh,
yeah, 100%, absolutely. Like I was lucky. I had a ring like an hour away, you know, and I lived in the middle of nowhere. You know, at one point I was kind of, when I was in high school, researching like, you know, how cost effective would it be on this income to like move to Detroit and go to, you know, wrestling school down there. So like I was lucky in that way that it was just, you know, right there down the road, you know. Any indie wrestler will tell you they can drive an hour in their sleep, you know.
right, right. So, um, how long did you wrestle before you got into the promotion side of things?
You're making me do math here. Let's see, six, about 8 years, about 8 years. And
Okay.
it kind of came up. It was a weird way it came up. One of my best friends in the world, stuntman Mike, I'd say my wife, him, and like two other people are the people that I trust the most in this world. And we were sitting around one day because he trained at the same place I did. We were sitting around one day and just talking about, man, if we had an indie, you know, we would do things this way, or, you know, we wouldn't do things that way. And, you know, we would do this because doing it the other way, you know, is treating the fans bad and things like that. And, you know, he kind of turned to me, and again, this is kind of going back to what I was saying before about the, if they can do it, why can't we kind of mentality. He looked at me and he's like, why don't we? What's stopping us? And that was that. and
Right.
then and then like you know, a ring uh you know, ended up being for sale from an old promoter that I knew. And you know, we were able, again, IWE, the first couple of years we filmed our TV show in that same studio that I was talking about before. So yeah, you know, it kind of all comes back to like the resources that you accumulated along the way. So we would do our studio TV tapings. The studio eventually became too small for the amount of fans that were coming. We found a great place up in Houghton Lake, which is about 35 minutes from where I live. And you know, it's a youth center and we do fundraisers for them all the time. But you know, I guess I'm going off on a tangent, but
But
you
no,
know, it's so crazy how things come full circle. Like I never even really put that together until now, that it all just, you know, it's a big circle.
and that is amazing to hear. And I've never got a chance to ask anyone that's a promoter and has been a wrestler this question. Have you found the transition from being a wrestler to being the promoter hard? Do you feel do you feel like you have to put everything on your back to make it work, or what is your feelings about that?
Okay, so being a promoter and a wrestler, you have to wear a lot of hats, obviously. Us bald guys probably know about that. Um, but so I've never been one of those promoters where, I win every match and I win every title and I put stuff, which I don't honestly think there's anything wrong with that, because if you're the promoter and you're the champion, you're not going to no show your own show. But that's another, I guess, discussion for another day. But yeah, like, when you're dealing with buildings and insurance and, you know, 20 wrestlers and 20 support staff, and, you have to make sure the building's paid, you have to make sure everybody's paid, and, you have your match to worry about. And oh no, the toilet's clogged, somebody has to go find the janitor now. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's extremely stressful, but to kind of see your vision play out, in front of you, like, this is wrestling how I've always wanted to see it. And, all these other people who come here, and we legitimately draw a big house every time. All these people here really dig this too. And to kind of see something created from the ground up out of nothing, it's worth all the headaches, it's worth all the stress, it's worth all the trouble. It just is. It's a really cool feeling, but it is hard to juggle all of that. And I don't do it alone. My wife helps me run the business side of things. Stuntman Mike, how I was, talking about before, he runs the locker room, and, we started it together and everything. And, we have our buddy Scrappy. He's in charge of like the audio video kind of,
Right.
stuff. And he also does commentary. It really is just kind of like everybody helps out, everybody contributes. It's a really cool vibe. And, but to see everybody come together and put this great show on for everybody that pays to come and see it, there's no better feeling than that.
It it sounds to me like you have a great team. I love the fact that you made sure to give them their flowers and love.
Oh yeah.
And like you said, it's not just you, it's your team. Everybody,
Yes.
the vision, everybody sees the vision and works towards the vision.
Absolutely. That goes back to, I had this discussion with another wrestler the other day, but I don't remember who, and I apologize if that person's watching. But in pro wrestling, the reason why everybody shakes everybody's hand when they get to the building, when they leave the building, it's not just because of mutual respect. It's because we all need each other for this to succeed. Without the ring crew, the ring doesn't get put up. Without the cameramen, nobody outside the building sees this. Without the wrestlers, there's no matches. But without the referee, there's no pinfalls. Like everybody needs one another for this thing to exist. And I think a lot of indie wrestlers kind of lose sight of that sometimes.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. Um, it's and I am the type of person who things that other people won't look at while they're at a show, I look at, because I think, oh wow, look at how much these people play a part into the smiles that little kid has. This is
Absolutely.
memory that kid will have and maybe pass on to his kids and to his grandkids, and just that feeling.
That's how the building, sorry, that's how the business stays live. You know, hey, I remember taking my kids to pro wrestling when they were kids, and then their kids take their kids, like I get that all the time. At our shows, we have generations of families that come to the show. We have grandma and grandpa, and they come with their kids and they take their kids, and they kind of do it as like a big family night.
Yeah, that is super awesome.
Yeah,
So now I want to dive in a little more about your promotion.
sure.
Tell me about your top champion.
Our top champion is the Mighty Bojack. I can't say enough good things about Mighty Bojack. He is a class act in and outside of the ring. I am so happy to have him as part of our team, as our top guy representing the brand as the heavyweight champion. Him and his brother, Caesar Asher, they are a tag team known as the Den. They're tearing it up all over the Michigan Indies. If they wrestle for a promotion, chances are they have their tag titles right now. And just he's one of those guys that if people don't know it now, it's going to pass them by the time that he is at that elite level. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's one of those guys that, like, if you just aren't booking him right now, if you're not using him right now on your shows, him and his brother, if you're not using those guys, and you have a chance to now, when they're to the next level and you can't book them anymore, you shoulda, coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Right. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So, who is your top tag team?
Our top tag team is the Roughneck Dynasty. However, there's an asterisk here. The championship is held currently by Dogman Bam and Jeremiah J. Hughes. One of the most entertaining acts you'll ever see. They're the scuffling hillbillies, pro wrestling. But Jeremiah J. Hughes is actually facing the Mighty Bojack for the IWE heavyweight title on August 9th. So substituting and taking his place is going to be Big Buford, who is another member of the Roughneck Dynasty. So it'll be Dogman Bam and it'll be Big Buford as the tag team champions heading into Heritage Days to take on a mystery team and a team of Corey Kerr and Bill Blackwell. Bill Blackwell needs to be seen to be believed. He is a true giant on the indies. I don't know why more people aren't booking this guy. You know what I mean? He is a legitimate 6'7", 6'8", I think. And he's well over I want to say he's about 400 pounds. Dude is just a mountain of a man. You see him come into the ring and you're like, somebody's going to die. And chances are they might. And his tag partner, the dire wolf, Corey Kerr. Imagine what I just described, but in a slightly smaller package. So like a Taz, where, he might not be that tall, but man, can he throw you across that ring. And so those four guys hooking up at actually six guys, because there's a mystery team, those guys hooking up at Heritage Days on August 9th is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be a hell of a match.
Wow, it sounds like it. But speaking of which, I had a little birdie tell me that a certain guest of mine is going to be doing some wrestling there. Can I get that? Is that true? I'm wondering.
Who?
I mean, I now again, I just heard that a guest of mine right now that I'm
Oh,
currently
me. Oh,
talking
see, I
to.
thought you meant a previous guest. I'm like, a previous guest was on the. Sorry, I swear this is just water. Um, yes, no, I will be wrestling, and I will be taking on Pun the Psych in a Battle of the Maniacs hardcore match. So Pun the Psych, split personality. He lets the voices take over and he does damage in the ring. Me, I'm a crazy guy who talks to a Halloween plastic bucket named Frankenbucket. In fact, he's
I,
right up there.
I was about to say, I see three of them behind you. So it's like, wow.
Yep,
One,
Frankenbucket's up there, just hanging out, and so and then I throw candy out to people, but he's my manager. He guides me through the match. He tells me what I should be doing, and if I'm getting the crap beat out of me, he's like, "Don't do that." And so it'll be a Battle of the Maniacs hardcore match, and I'm looking forward to it, but I'm simultaneously not looking forward to it.
oh, what? So, okay. With that being said, tell me both sides of why you're looking forward to it and why you're not.
Well, as a man who just turned 39 a couple weeks ago and who has been wrestling pretty much nonstop since excuse me, too much water. Who's been wrestling almost nonstop since 2006. And like I said, backyard wrestling before that, and bumps are bumps. So, I've been doing a lot of damage to my body over the years, and man, just it takes a long time to recover after a regular match, let alone a hardcore match. But I'm looking forward to it because I love to perform. I love to give the fans something that maybe they haven't seen before. I love to give the fans a fun character that they can interact with. And it's something that I have to do, you know? And everybody knows like when their time is up and when it's coming to an end. And I know I have, I'm closer to the end than I am the beginning. And so I just want to go out there and just keep giving it my all until I can't no more.
I definitely understand that. One of the things that for me now, and let's be real, you're a baby compared to me. I'm 52. So
I was gonna say, but we have the same wisdom here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I've been blessed to see people start their careers and end their careers. I've seen both sides of the fence and everything, and I really appreciate what you all as wrestlers give up for our entertainment, but because a lot of people don't understand not only what you put, like you said, your body through, what you put your family through, what you put aside to try to entertain people and give them such a great feel. So I always try to give my thanks and give flowers to, uh, as I like to call you, creators, because you create so much magic. And I always like to give you your flowers for that.
Well, thank you, man. I'm actually kind of tearing up here because it's been a long time since I heard something like that, and I do appreciate it. And yeah, I've had all kinds of injuries. I had to have hip surgery a couple years ago, and before that, I got a really serious concussion, and almost broke my neck, and it was a bad accident, nobody's fault. But yeah, it's taken its toll, you know what I mean? And I'm not ready to give it up yet. And that's why I've been, really training hard in the gym. I've been doing over an hour of cardio a day, and just really, if this is going to be my last run, I'm going to make it a last run to remember. I don't want to be a shell of what I used to be. And unfortunately, I think the last couple of times I have wrestled, I was that. And I don't want to be that. I don't, the fans who, you know, buy a ticket, or, if they go to a free show, they're still giving you their time. You know what I mean? They don't need to see somebody who's trying to wrestle. They need to see somebody who can wrestle, who can work, and who can go in there and still hang. And, when we come back on August 9th, I plan to be all of that and more.
And again, for me, that's why I think more fans need to give love and appreciation for what you sacrifice and what you do. Again, I never could do that. You talk about you having hip surgery. Well, hell, I had a hip surgery when I was 13, 14. I've
What was it? Did you tear your labrum?
No, my hip popped out of socket.
Oh, dang. Ugh.
And they put in two long screws, and then a year later they took them out because the bone started growing around the screws, so they had to take them out.
Dang.
And from there, I've had 3 more surgeries. Had to replace both of my hips. I've had back surgery twice. So again, and Lord knows I am not comparing myself to you as a wrestler. A lot of times I try to point out that I understand people's view by telling them what I go through. And I know I have a bad habit of it. But
look where you're at now, though. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like you might not have been able to be a wrestler, but you're still part of the wrestling business. You're a vital part of the wrestling business because you help other people's messages get out there. You give them a platform, and you should be proud of that.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I'm very proud of it. And that's the thing. It's like, what can I contribute to the sport I love? What can I do to help and keep it going to the future? And that's why I love doing these shows. That's why I love talking to a lot of the indie guys, girls, refs. If I can help you get your name out there and your brand, I'm about it. So again, it's not about me. It's about the business. And
sure.
That's why I love learning. And so, talking about your promotion again,
yes.
And you said y'all on Access TV. Where else could we find your promotion?
You can check us out at iwegladiators.com. The website is basically just a hub for where you can find our YouTube channel and our Facebook and, all of our different stuff that we have going on. Anytime we're in the news, we'll kind of update that stuff. But, you know what I mean? Like, if you want to see IWE, our YouTube page, just search Imperial Wrestling Entertainment. Facebook, we're always posting videos, lots of promos, lots of clips to get people hyped up about upcoming events and things like that. That's Imperial Wrestling Entertainment. If you just search that, it'll come up. And yeah, just iwegladiators.com. That'll just take you to everything.
Man, that is great to hear. And I hope that people go and look at the page, look at your wrestling, because personally, I know I'm going to do it because I'm so curious to see some of the guys and just see what y'all have to offer.
Yeah, we're very throwback to like the 80s era of wrestling in many different ways, where we have over the top characters as with the pro wrestling. You're not going to see, I call them generic Derricks, where it's kind of like first name, last name, wearing trunks. You know what I mean? What you will see are stuntmen. What you will see are hillbillies. What you'll see are gangster thugs. We have a wrestler who has a bowling gimmick. You know what I mean? You're going to see all kinds of different characters from all different walks of life too. And we're very much the buffet of professional wrestling. You know, you got comedy, you got high flying, you got power wrestlers, you got hardcore, you have a little bit of everything sprinkled over, you know, a 2-3 hour show to give you kind of that full wrestling experience where you're not seeing the same thing over and over again.
I love it. Love it. So, where do you think you all are going to go in the future? Say in 5 years, where would you like to see IWE?
Um, huh. See, I have a 5-year plan, so I'm trying to choose my words carefully. Just either A, in case they don't happen, or B, somebody beats me to the punch.
Understand.
Um, in 5 years, I just want everybody who works for us and who has followed and stuck with us over the past 11 years. I want them to enjoy the fruits of all of our labor. I want us to be able to bask in the fact that we have done a lot of good. And I want everybody who maybe doubted us to kind of take a step back. And I want everybody to have a wonderful night's sleep.
That is so amazing. I love hearing that. So, we've hit the point where I need shout outs from you. I want you to shout out everybody that you want to give shine to. I want you to give out your social media. I want you to get everybody to understand where they can find you, where they can find the promotion, and let the world know.
Absolutely. Again, iwegladiators.com. It's basically a hub to take you to all of our social media and our YouTube page. And it's an easy way to find everything. Once you're there, you can like, you know, subscribe, all of that good stuff. So you'll start seeing us in your feed. You can find me on Facebook. I used to have Twitter, X, or whatever, but too toxic. I can kind of control Facebook a little bit better. You can find me. It's facebook.com/CF John C. So creature feature John Campbell, CF John C. You'll know because I have the douchey blue check mark next to my name. Because my stuff, I was tired of it getting hacked. It's easier security, you know, not because I'm some egomaniac, which a lot of people seem to think since I am. um, yeah, and that's basically it. I'm very interactive. You know, you can follow, like, comment. You know, I usually comment back. I usually message people back. You know, I'm not Michael Jackson. I'm just a regular dude. Probably Michael Jackson was a bad example. Who's like a big celebrity now that hasn't been like in trouble with the law? Tom Hanks? I'm not Tom Hanks. I'm sure if you message Tom Hanks, he probably won't message you back. And that doesn't mean he's not a lovely man. He's probably just busy. But me, I message back. And yeah, just, you know, I hope everybody likes what they see, and I hope everybody likes what we're doing.
Again, I appreciate you coming on. I'm very, I'm very, I'm looking forward to watching IWE and seeing a throwback to the 80s because I've seen so many different styles of promotions, but the 80s gimmicky, I hadn't seen that in quite a while. So that definitely it piques my interest. And I
That's a
think
lot of fun. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that. Why did we get into wrestling in the first place? And this might be a generational thing, but you know, wrestling really appealed to me because it was larger than life characters doing larger than life things, right?
Right.
And, again, why can't you give them that kind of experience on the indies, but also, oh, hey, these larger than life characters, they're accessible. We can go there, we can take pictures with them. They'll, sign our autographs. It's one of those kind of things. IWE shows have a certain vibe to them. We call all of our fans the IWE family. And many times me and my wife will, go to the kids' ball games who come to our shows, or, we've been invited to weddings that we've attended, and, our fans, when they pass away, we go to their funerals. And it's not like it's a secret, but a lot of these promoters and wrestlers, they think they're holier than thou. If it wasn't for these people supporting you, you could not do this. So why not give them the same courtesy?
I could not have said that any better. That is so true. And I think too, especially in this time and age, as ticket prices are ridiculous.
10
It,
bucks. We only charge $10 for adults, kids 10 and under free.
and,
Except for our show coming up on August 9th. That show is completely free as part of the
oh,
Heritage Days Fair.
and I'm glad you brought it up. Give us a rundown of that card if you don't care.
Oh man, okay. There's a lot happening. We're coming back with a bang. We are having the Heritage Days Rumble. So over 20 participants, Royal Rumble style. Winner gets a heavyweight title shot in October when we come back. And I just dropped that on the air. I'm going to see how many people heard that and how many people come back to me and say, oh, you're coming back in October? Yes. So the Heritage Days Rumble. We also have a brand new thing that we're doing called Blitz Bouts. And Blitz Bouts is basically matches that have 2-minute time limits. So they're perfect for TikTok, Reels, Facebook Shorts, things like that. And so that's going to be a tournament, the Blitz Bouts tournament. And so you're going to basically get a tournament's worth of matches in about 20 minutes, so boom, 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 boom. And then we have, again, myself versus Pun the Psych in a hardcore match. Jeremiah J. Hughes goes after Bojack's IWE heavyweight title. We have the tag title, triple threat, a mystery team, and Bill Blackwell and Corey Kerr are taking on the Dogman Bam and Big Buford team, the Roughneck Dynasty. We have Adina Jade taking on Juniper Gates, and we're going to jumpstart our women's division this year. We have, the rock idol, Cody Leedy, the Cody Leedy Experience. You'd love him, 80s hairband guy all the way. Takes on Derek Crow. Cody Leedy's defending the IWE Gladiator Championship. And shoot, if I'm forgetting anybody, I apologize, guys, but there's a lot happening at this show. And stuff we haven't even announced, stuff that you will be surprised once you get there.
Man, I love hearing that. And on top of that, I'm sitting here mesmerized that the show is free.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's amazing.
Yep. Heritage Days, they we've been working with them. This will be our 4th year. And the first year was kind of like a trial run, but ever since then we've headlined and closed out the whole thing. So we're headlining the thing. We're the last thing of the day.
That is so amazing, and congratulations for that.
Congratulations
Thank you. For everything that you have coming up, and
well, again, it's not just me, it's the team, and I want to give a special shout out, honestly, to my wife, because, she helps me run the business side of things. And it's not easy running an independent wrestling company. It's not. And so she's phenomenal, and I love her to death, and I'm so lucky.
And I'm so lucky that you said that, because as soon as we went off there, I was going to say, man, you're going to be sleeping on the couch tonight because you never once gave a shout out to your wife.
Yeah. Well, I talked about earlier, like everybody who helps and contributes and
Yeah,
stuff,
but
but
it's your wife. The wife.
yeah, no, I do, man. Every day I wake up and I look at her and I'm like, I don't know how I lucked out in life. I don't know how I got this lucky, and yeah, just, for her too, because, this wasn't what she bargained for. You know what I mean? When we first met, we've been together 11 years. We'll be married for 6 in November. And, when we first met, I know this wasn't what she expected life to ever be like, but, she's 100% all in. And I couldn't have asked for a better partner in life.
I'm so happy to hear that, and
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
So, with that being said, my friend, uh, thank you again for coming on the show.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Man. Anytime you have an open invitation, anytime you're having any big show and need to promote, man, hit me up and we will make
Absolutely.
it work. We
I'll
will.
see you in September then.
All righty.
You
Sounds
heard it
good.
here first.
Yes. So, guys, girls, thank you for joining me on today's episode of A Bear's Thought. It's been a great, great episode. Again, thank you, John, for coming. And man, again, we are just doing the thing. We are promoting, we
Absolutely.
are showing love. And again, this is Professor Bear, and this has been A Bear's Thought. Thank you.